those of you who've been around for a while will realize it's been a little while. In fact, the last time I stood up here with a product was in the previous century. It seems all the more surprising given that none of us aged adult since then. But it's wonderful to be back working with all the great people here. I've always felt it was a real privilege to work with Keilhauer for all sorts of reasons. And I'm delighted to be back. And thanks especially to Mike for all his patience and perseverance over the years in trying to cajole me into coming out of what initially I wasn't sure if it was early retirement or sabbatical. Turns out to have been sabbatical because here I am. And what really turned the trick in the end was Mike dangling a particular project in front of me, which became this, made me an offer I couldn't refuse essentially as a furniture designer, which is to design this kind of product. And if you're not a furniture guy, a stacking chair may sound a bit banal, perhaps, but it's actually one of the most interesting challenges as a chair designer you can face. And I guess it's because so much is predetermined by it needing to stack in terms of specific relationships of parts. The real challenge is to make it not seem like that's what drives the whole thing. In other words, to make a stacking chair that isn't saying in a loud voice, I'm a stacking chair. And I've been really pleased with how often I've shown a photograph of this to someone and they asked if it stacks, which is exactly the kind of response you want. And one of the reasons it does that, I think, is I was trying to get away from what is the most conventional kind of formal composition of this sort of chair, and it's really what the also chair had, which is it's a combination of usually 1-inch tubular frame elements, essentially lines, if you're thinking about it visually, and planes, a seat and a back, supported by that composition of lines. And instead, I wanted to think more of volumes in this one. So I started with a tube that's a little bigger. It's 1 1/8 instead of 1 inch, which gets it a little bit away from the standard. And then to treat the other elements, the arms and the back, as continuations of that volume. So it's a continuous volume or surface that starts with the legs. And in fact, if you take the seat out of the equation, the entire chair is a combination of just 2 surfaces. So you can start anywhere and move up into the arm, around, back down, any of the legs. It's a single surface, and the second one is what scoops out back here. So it makes a much simpler sort of composition, and one where there's a more integral relationship between the arm and the back and the frame. And I think it makes it a bit sort of quieter feeling as well. And so while this chair will do everything that also chair does, we think it also has a broader application, particularly if you think about the upholstered versions. You can upholster the seat and put a pad in the back. And that has a feel where it could be kind of almost a high-end visitor's chair and be used in a much broader range of applications. But it still stacks and does everything the basic type can normally do. And I should also explain that in the ads, I'm not sure where it says this, it describes it as being inspired by nature. And a little bit about that, I mean, I think that applies to most of what I do, but the way I talk about that, or describe it initially, is using the work of someone named Carl Blossfeld, who was a teacher of applied arts in Germany between the wars, I believe. And his thesis was that any formal problem that's ever approached by an architect or a designer has already been solved by nature. You just have to look for the precedent. And as a means of demonstrating that, he photographed hundreds and hundreds of very small natural elements, flower buds, twigs. And the idea is that there's a kind of inherent logic in form that's generated by nature. And it's something that is kind of intuitive. It's something you're more aware of often if it's not there than if it is. It has to do with proportion and line and balance. And the net result is form that has a sense of inevitability about it and a kind of ease of something that's at home in its own skin. And hopefully that's what's going on here. Not sure how much talk about all the options, but it's essentially like the also chair, with and without arms, upholstered seat, pad on the back, and then the whole range of ganging mechanism, tablet arm, you can put it on wheels, dolly, and then at some point through the process we decided that the table would be a good idea to go along with it, which is what you see here. And so the base takes its form from essentially the arm. So it starts at the floor with this circular section like here, and then shifts into a elongated oval. So it's basically taking the vocabulary of the arm, applying it to the base, and comes in a whole range of top sizes and shapes. There's a square-ish top, which is almost a square, but there's a very slight arc to the sides, which make it feel a little more at home with the chair, where the back is kind of square, but there's a bit of an arc to it. It just softens it a bit and makes it seem more like they're of a family. Colors, lots.
13 colors.
Wow.
What we did was we took all of our colors. Remember, we were asking you about which ones you thought were great Keilhauer colors, and we were very pleased to see that we pretty much nailed all the colors in our other stacking chairs. We added a couple. We added orange, and we added an espresso brown that we didn't have before. And we took all the top sellers and we put it into this chair. So there are 13 colors, but what we did on this line, and Tom and Mike and I talked about it, I have been to Italy a lot in the Laszlo Wallet design shows and everything, and one thing I was seeing outside of our industry, but it was becoming very prevalent all throughout other kinds of industries, were these incredibly beautiful matte black molded things. And there was everything from new cutlery coming out in this beautiful matte black, to, you know, bicycle helmets, to, you know, even cars, race cars, all that kind of stuff. Was always, all of a sudden you were seeing it outside of our industry. And because Tom had done such an amazing job, and when Tom comes to us with a chair, it's not designed on a computer. He comes with it, he's a sculptor as well as a designer, and it's designed out of modeling clay, and he brings it half the chair and a mirror, and then it goes from that to the computer. And so when we saw all these shapes and everything, we decided that it was the perfect chair to maybe introduce in a matte black full chair and a matte white full chair. And so it's available in all these wonderful colors with chrome base and powder coat base and that type of thing. And then we've added this matte black and matte white. And that's what you see in the front window. And that's what was photographed that you see on the walls. And we photographed so you could really see how incredible the details are. And underneath the photographs is a line of chairs, the you know, armless with a nylon seat and back, the armchair nylon seat and back, the upholstered seat only, the upholstered seat and back. So all the options are right along this wall underneath these wonderful photographs that highlight all the incredible details that Tom put into the chair. Yes, there, you will pass by them. There's a counterstool and bar stool as you pass into the textile area that you'll see.
Tom,
Yes.
how high does it stack?
It's stacked 6 on the floor, 10 on the dolly.
Very good.
Good.
This is coming out like a bar height, camping height, bistro
Table,
table.
bistro table.
Bistro
Yes.
table.